So I watched all of the movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is kind of surprising even to me because I've never considered myself a Marvel fan. I mean, I'd seen a few of their movies, maybe like half, but I really didn't like the whole superhero gimmick because all of the movies felt like they were the same to me. So I don't know why I did it. I guess I'm just going slowly insane from sitting inside all day. Anyway, I wanted to talk about that today because surprisingly I have a lot of feelings about Marvel now. Basically, I used a custom order to watch the movies that some guy on Reddit made. I guess I'll link it in the description. It's a great order to watch the movies. I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, some people argue that it spoils too much because it's not release order or chronological order. Almost chronological, but not 100%. But I think for me it was fine. I mean, I knew a lot of the spoilers already because Endgame was already out when I started this Marvel project. I mean, I didn't know everything, but I knew a few things, and then my friends spoiled some things for me. But it's fine, you know, like I was really lucky because I kind of blocked out all of the Marvel stuff before because I wasn't really that into it, and now I kind of regret it because I missed out on a lot of hype. But I think it's better this way, just so I wouldn't have to get disappointed. So let's go through all of the movies in the order that I watched them and see what I thought of them. I watched Captain America back in August last year, and then I watched maybe 3 or 4 movies, but I had to take a break from them because I just thought they were so boring. Captain America: The First Avenger is completely uninspired, boring, flat, and lacks any sense of heart. Sure, it has some good moments, but as a standalone film, it fails on so many levels I hesitate to even call this a movie. Because this is a product, and I guess that could play an intentional part as a theme, seeing as Captain America himself is commercialized as a character to sell bonds in the movie. But if this is intentional, it is a terrible parallel because it doesn't add anything to the narrative other than, hey, look, Captain America is an advertisement, just like the movie Captain America is an advertisement. Isn't that so meta? Plot and characters are really shallow, like the motivations don't cut very deep, and the plot is so oversimplified. I'm starting to think this is a movie for children. Oh, the story is so episodic. It's like there's no through line throughout the movie, and that really bothers me. The scene that I hate the most is the one where Captain America is kissed by this girl and the other girl is like being jealous, and it doesn't have any payoff, or it doesn't do anything in the story. I just can't buy the relationship between Captain America and what's her name? Peggy. Yeah. Basically, I thought it's a really dumb movie. It's the worst there is in the MCU. I really hate this movie so much because it's so boring. There were 2 things in this movie that I actually like. The first one was the scientist character. I don't remember why, but I thought he was kind of good. I liked his heart. Didn't he have a good quote or something? I guess not. Oh yeah, there was this really stupid scene in this movie where they go to Norway and the actors, they like try to speak Norwegian, which is my language as well, and I just could not like understand what they're saying. That was really hilarious, and it's like 1942, and I just can't believe that all these Norwegians could speak perfect English. Like, why? It's a very short sequence in the film, so I could not understand why they couldn't just get a Norwegian actor to do this scene. Like, it's so short, it would have been much cheaper than getting that guy, and it would have been so much more believable. Anyway, that's really nitpicky, I know, but it was really funny. Oh yeah, the second thing that I liked was Bucky. What I remember of him. I mean, in the beginning I was like, nah, I don't know about this guy. But then when he died, it was kind of like, no, and I was a bit sad. And then my friend said, well, you know, he's the Winter Soldier, so we know he's not dead. And I was like, what? He's the Winter Soldier? Because I had no idea. Overall, I think this is really bad movie. The biggest problem, I think, is that it's just so plain, and we already knew that Marvel could make better movies because Iron Man and Iron Man 2 had already proven that. So that's why Captain America falls very flat in comparison. The next movie on the custom list is Captain Marvel, but I watched Captain Marvel way at the end between Infinity War and Endgame, because by the time I got hold of this movie, I had already watched way into the list, and I didn't want to watch it. I just did not want to watch it. So the next movie I actually watched was Iron Man. And Iron Man is a great movie. It's like so perfect. It's the perfect, I don't even have the words. Actually, I said earlier that I was never consider myself a Marvel fan, which I kind of, it's not really true, because when Iron Man came out, that was my shit. There are two heroes in the Marvel universe that I love so much. And I would die for these people, and Iron Man is one of them, you know. Of course, that's from way back when I was like 14 and I was really into superheroes because they weren't that popular yet, so I thought it's really great that we have these amazing movies like Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man trilogy, and then we had Iron Man and Iron Man 2 and Iron Man 3, and I wasn't really aware of this whole cinematic universe yet. So basically I'm just like a big fan of Iron Man, and here are the reasons why. This movie is great. It has everything you want in a superhero flick. It's like the characters are real characters, like they have satisfying character arcs, and there's amazing fights and action in this movie, like, oh my god. And the cinematography is really creative, and the script is pretty good, you know. Just everything is really good about this movie. The opening scene of this movie is so incredibly strong. It immediately grabs your attention and like builds Tony from the very first moment as a person. I think that's, if you want to see some good filmmaking, watch the first scene of Iron Man. Tony Stark, his character arc is very interesting because it's not like a traditional movie character journey, you know. Like, he changes fairly early in the movie. He has his change of heart, like he doesn't want to make weapons anymore, which is like, whoa, like is his redemption over? Like, is that it? What's he gonna do now? But he still has a lot of steps to take to make up for the things that he did wrong in his life, you know. And we're gonna see this throughout the whole journey, not just in the Iron Man movies, but all the way until Endgame. He's still trying to redeem himself from making and selling weapons to terrorists. Robert Downey Jr. is a great actor, and he captures his character so perfectly. Everything is so great, and he still retains, even though Tony has, you know, changed motivations, like he wants to make the world a better place. Even though he's changed, he's still himself, you know. He still retains his character. He's still sassy and arrogant and charismatic, and, you know, all of those things. I mean, I'm sure there are lots of things in the script that you can nitpick and, you know, question and things like that, but overall I think this script is really solid. Villains have never been Marvel's strong suit. Obadiah, he's very obviously evil. Every villain in Marvel is very obvious from the beginning, and I kind of like Obadiah as a villain. It's not the best we've seen, but it's not the worst. It's certainly not the worst. The best thing about this movie, obviously, is Iron Man, and just how cool he is when he is Iron Man. I think, you know, his fight scenes and his choreography is so amazing. And that's what I love about Iron Man and Iron Man 2. The fight scenes and just seeing him, you know, fly around and do all this crazy stuff. Oh my god, it's so cool. It's like I don't even have the words, you know. It's just so freaking cool, and it makes the movies completely. His suit looks really good, and his fighting style is so cool, and his personality is so cool, and he has this calm about him. He can stay calm in any situation, and you kind of get that he's learned that from years of experience, and there's just so many layers to him, like so much history between the lines, and I think this is actually really great filmmaking. Also, this movie is a perfect setup for the MCU, in my opinion, and I think putting Captain America first is a horrible mistake, because that's a bad movie, and if you wanna introduce people to the MCU who's never gotten into it or never seen it, or, you know, whatever, don't start with the worst movie of the franchise, in my opinion. I think, honestly, Iron Man is better to start with, but that's just me. I know lots of people who like Captain America, but Iron Man's really good. I think, actually, I'm gonna probably raise the score a little, just from the memory. It's a really great movie. So the next movie I watched was Iron Man 2, which is, you know, it's not as good as Iron Man, but it's certainly better than Captain America, the first Avenger. I'm just gonna compare every movie to Captain America now, and every movie is going to be better. Anyway, Iron Man 2, it's I really like that it just continues the story from where Iron Man 1 left off. Tony is still himself and is being really great. The problems with this movie is that the script is very jumbled. There are lots of different storylines they're trying to weave them together, but not doing that very well. Oh yeah, there was the thing about the poison as well. Yeah, just there's too much in this story. I think it could have worked if they took out some of the storylines and left them for another movie, but they didn't do that for whatever reason. A lot of things are good about this movie though. Like the relationship between Tony and Pepper is really good, I think. I mean, it's not great, but they are the best Marvel couple that we have. I think this is the best movie for their relationship. I can appreciate the vulnerable moments that they share. I think that's really cute. Another thing that I like about this movie is the friendship between Tony and Rhodey, which is pretty good. I like their interactions. Oh yeah, Black Widow is in this movie. Oh, I like Black Widow a lot, but this was not a good movie for her. The best thing about this movie, obviously, is the action. Iron Man is still so cool, and now he has an upgraded suit and he does all these awesome moves, and there's even 2 of him now, and it's just so freaking cool. Like, this is the thing I can never get over with Iron Man. It's just, he's so freaking cool. So yeah, overall it's a very mixed bag. The story in this movie was so contrived and so poorly manufactured, but a lot of the other things in this movie, like the action and the characters and the acting, and it's just a lot of fun. Everything apart from the script in this movie is a lot of fun. Doesn't hold up to the first film, but that's to be expected. I mean, have you ever seen a sequel that's better than the original movie. So Iron Man 2 is a 6 out of 10 for me. The Incredible Hulk gets a bad rep, in my opinion. I mean, it's certainly not a good movie, but it's not nearly as bad as Captain America, the first Avenger, and other Marvel films that I have yet to talk about. In fact, I guess I found the Hulk kind of charming just because it's so goofy and cheesy and predictable. And to be honest, I can't even remember the story or anything that happens in it. I just remember it's just so goofy and funny. It's like almost so bad is good kind of way. I don't think I would ever watch it again, but I wouldn't say that this film is offensive in any way, like, and that's still like a few steps above Captain America in my opinion. I think the thing that I enjoyed about this movie was that it's so unaware of itself. You know, you have this sad scene for the Hulk and then, or Bruce Banner, and then, you know, there's just like this thunderstorm and lots of rain pouring, and it's just so it's so overdone. And they do this twice at least. They have like a sad moment and there's like lots of rain and thunder and and it's like, come on, it's too much. I mean, the story is kind of boring, like nothing really happens. There's some rainy scenes and Bruce has a girlfriend. Villain is just so stupid. He just wants to be strong and then he can't control his strength and he starts destroying the city or something like that. And then at the end there's an obvious setup for the next movie that thankfully was never made, because this is too much, man. The dialogue is so cheesy. It's like the most cookie cutter cliche lines you've ever heard. Just Google like the top lines in Hollywood movies and that's the Hulk movie. It's really funny. I took a long time to decide whether I like Edward Norton as the Hulk or not. I mean, the actor is fine. I think he's a good actor. I don't know if I can appreciate him as the Hulk because he's made into this tragic, like, suffering character and I don't think it fits him. I thought the gimmick was that Bruce turns into the Hulk when he gets angry, and it's really hard to see Edward Norton in any kind of rage, but I guess in this movie he just turns into the Hulk when he's feeling really intense emotions. The girlfriend character, she's just nothing special really. I mean, I felt bad for her boyfriend who just seemed like a really good guy. I don't know why they have to do this kind of cuckoldery in all these stupid movies. It's kind of gross, to be honest, that it seems all of Hollywood is having this kind of kink. You know, people can like what they like, but really, like, what are they, 12? It's lazy writing. I feel like a lot of the girlfriend characters in the Marvel cinematic universe have been poorly written, and I don't think that's acceptable, especially when you have really good male characters like Tony Stark or... Okay, so maybe poor writing is just a problem in general, but the girlfriend characters, they getting the brunt of it. They're like at the bottom of the barrel. Yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. It's not the worst movie, it's not the best movie, it's not a good movie, but it has some charm to it, I think. I wish that they didn't set up all the stuff for the future sequel, because I can't stand unfinished stories. Maybe that's why I'm doing this. Maybe that's why I started this project anyway. So far, the only hero in the MCU with a personality is Tony Stark. I mean, Captain America is a piece of wood, and Bruce Banner is, oh, he's, to be honest, I think Bruce Banner's character is worse than Captain America, and that's just, I can't believe I just said that. In this, so far, okay, so far we haven't discussed what's to come, which is, oh boy, which is sure is something. And oh my god, I can't wait to talk about it. But anyway, so far Bruce Banner is the most boring, like, soulless superhero, and he's not really a hero even. I don't know why all these characters are called superheroes when most of the time they do a lot more damage than what they save. I gave the movie a 4 out of 10. Thor is not a great movie. The first time I watched Thor was when it came out, actually, so it's been so long ago. And I was really disappointed. I was not familiar with the Marvel comics back then, so I didn't realize that they were actually based on comics. But I was so excited when I saw that Thor was coming out, because I was a big, like, Norse mythology nerd. Like, I was really into that for a while. And then I watched Thor and I was like, wait a minute, this isn't like that at all. This is like, where did they even get this stuff? Like, this is so inaccurate. Like, 14-year-old me thought it was gonna be like an adaptation of Norse mythology, but it's not. Anyway, back to the actual movie. It's not great, it's not a good movie. Thor is really unlikable, and the movie is really cheesy and melodramatic. I guess it could work as a comedy. Like, I laughed a lot, not at the jokes, but just how stupid everything was. There were some decent one-liners. I cannot remember anyone at the top of my head, but that's what I wrote down. They overuse Dutch angles. Actually, Dutch angles don't belong in movies at all. But they use them all the time. You know, when they tilt the camera a little bit, it's just, it looks so stupid, man. It looks like a 13-year-old girl filmed this movie. I think everything about it is awful, except, and this is what saves the movie, this is what saves every Thor movie, and that is this wonderful human being called Tom Hiddleston. Like, Loki carries the film on his back. Actually, he carries the whole Thor franchise on his back. Like, Thor would have been, without Loki, or if it had been maybe a less talented actor than Tom Hiddleston, this would have been below Captain America, which is really, I mean, it's really a testament to Mr. Hiddleston's capabilities, because he barely speaks in the movie. Like, he doesn't have a lot of lines, so he doesn't do a lot in this movie, but he already in the first 5 minutes of this movie, you just look at him, at his facial expressions and, you know, his body language, and you can just tell everything. You know everything there is to know about him. He's just so good, and I don't want to watch this movie again, but maybe I would for Loki. And I'm not like a Loki fangirl. Like, I don't care about Loki. I did not appreciate him as much in the Avengers, but he's just so expressive and such a great actor. And I think that without him, these movies would have been so bad. But with him, they're okay. They're fine. They're like, what did I give it? 6 out of 10. Just for Tom Hiddleston. Without him, instant one. So yeah, that's what I thought about Thor. The next movie I watched was The Avengers, and that was a pretty good movie. It's really fun to see all the characters come together. The alien invasion is a bit like, it's the same with every Marvel movie. It's just bunch of aliens fighting, and they're like fighting them, and there's nothing special about it. But Marvel, it's not really about the villains, is it? It's about the heroes. Captain America finally has a personality, which is kind of interesting to see. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm like a fan of him. I wouldn't say I even like him. But it's nice to see that they try. The change of Hulk actor is a bit jarring. I don't know which one I prefer. Actually, I think Mark Ruffalo. I need to think about it a little bit, but I think Mark Ruffalo is probably better, especially when you bring everyone together. I can't really see Norton in this kind of environment. Anyway, there's a lot of badassery in this movie. Heroes kick ass. It's a lot of fun. I don't really know what happens in the movie. Like, the plot points and the story elements are kind of like abstract in my mind. Like, I don't know what happened, but there's a lot of iconic moments in this movie, and I would probably watch it again someday, just because, especially now that I've seen everything, it would be cool to go back and revisit some of the better movies and interesting scenes. But I don't really remember much about this movie, except that I liked it and I had fun with it. The thing that really disappointed me in this movie was Loki. He's not bad, but I don't think his performance was as great in this as it was in Thor. Maybe because he didn't have like an emotional core to act out of. I don't think his acting was really that strong in this movie, but he bounces back later, so it's fine, you know. And then, you know, there's some sad moments, like the Coulson, he dies in this movie, which is pretty rough to watch, actually. It's pretty sad. Of course, none of the heroes die, because then they couldn't go on and make more movies and $1 trillion from that. It's a fun movie. I think the best part about The Avengers is seeing the Avengers come together and kind of butt heads and like make friendships and teams, and like some of them get along and then some of them don't get along. It's the start of a great journey. It's like when the Avengers came out, it's like, oh my god, finally all these movies are paying off in this huge climax. And we had no idea, man. No idea that was just the beginning. That's actually all of the movies that I watched a few months ago. In August, September, I watched these 6 movies. The movies from here on out, I just watched them like in the past 2 or 3 weeks. So I have them a lot fresher in mind. A lot of them are interesting to talk about. So yeah. So the next movie I watched was Thor: The Dark World. I mean, obviously I'd heard that this was the worst movie of the whole MCU, and yeah, it did definitely not disappoint. It's so bad, in fact, that no one can remember what this movie is about. It's not funny, it's not interesting in any way. I don't know if I would say that it's worse than Captain America: The First Avenger, because Thor: The Dark World has Loki, and he's back to being a really great actor, so that kind of, you know, lifts up the movie a lot. This movie really does not have anything of interest though, so it's a tough one. Actually, Captain America might be better than Thor, The Dark World, now that I think about it. But then, you know what, the one thing I never understood about Captain America, the First Avenger, why couldn't he get into the military in the beginning? Like, he tried to enlist and they kept rejecting him, and I don't understand what's Steve Rogers' ailment, that he's skinny and small. That's his problem. They won't let him enlist because he's a small man. Also, that looked really fake. It looked really jarring and not cool at all, because you have like a child's body and a grown man's head. I think Captain America is still at the bottom. Only because of Loki though. Because Loki is really good in this movie. I don't even remember what he did, but... Oh yeah! He sacrificed himself. Oh yeah, now I remember. This is Loki's movie. He like had to... Like, his mother died and he had to grieve her, and then he had to cooperate with Thor, but he didn't want to, and they were kind of friends but not really friends, and then he tricked him but not really, and yeah, it's still a pretty shitty movie though. Next, we've got Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, I'm not gonna lie, the first time I watched Guardians, which was a few years ago, I really did not like this movie. I really thought it was so try hard and uninteresting and cliche. Now, having watched all of these superhero films like back to back, and then reaching Guardians of the Galaxy, when you put Guardians in its own like category, like when you see it as a standalone film on its own two legs, it's you know, your average run-of-the-mill kind of movie, but then you put Guardians next to Thor, The Dark World, Captain America, The First Avenger, The Incredible Hulk. It's so much better. And yeah, I think they tried harder with this one. I think it's a creative movie. It's pretty good. I don't have anything else to say. I mean, the characters are interesting. There's some chemistry going on. You know, some of them are arguing, and there's a lot of fun stuff that they try and do with that. I don't really remember what the story was, but... And the whole dance-off at the end was kind of stupid, but I mean, this is a movie for 12-year-olds, clearly. Anyway, it was actually not a bad movie. 7 out of 10. I could watch it again. Not my favorite, but I got nothing. It's a pretty good movie. After Guardians of the Galaxy would have been a great time to put Captain Marvel, if, you know, for some reason you still haven't watched that. Like, I hadn't watched that, but I decided to leave it for later because I really didn't want to watch Captain Marvel. No thank you. So instead I watched Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and it was better than the first one. Actually, it was pretty good. It was pretty fucking good. I think I really liked it because a lot of the themes that were explored are really human and really relatable, even though they're like way into space. And Star-Lord, he's such an awful human. Like, he's a garbage person. He's like, wow. But you kind of understand where it comes from because he has these daddy issues, and that's really relatable. Like, I felt that in my heart, and probably that's the reason why I cried so much, which is kind of manipulative, but at the same time I loved it. I live for pain. If they are having a hard time, if the characters are struggling and feeling pain, and I can feel that pain as well, that's the best moment. That's you know, my reason for living. I really like that they didn't resolve everything in this movie. They build on what we already had, and you'd think that starting from the previous movie, Guardians of the Galaxy, coming into Volume 2, you'd think that they were now a team and like really happy, having a great time, but it turns out their issues cut deep, like their, what's his name? Rocket? Is his name Rocket? The raccoon guy. Anyway, he's having a really hard time, and Star-Lord's having a hard time, and Gamora and Nebula are having a hard time. It's a lot of stuff that they have to work with, and I appreciate that. I like that it takes a while for them to work through their problems, like not everything is fixed in just 1 or 2 movies. That's really great. And Baby Groot is so cute, and it's really annoying that he's so cute, but he's like so cute. Some of the things were really predictable, like the Ego is the villain. That you saw that coming, everyone saw that coming. It's not really good. I mean, none of Marvel's twist villains have been very twisty, you know, like you always see them coming from like a mile away. Some of it was a bit contrived, but overall it's a pretty good movie. I think I would gladly watch that again outside of the Marvel universe. It's just a really good movie in itself. Like the cinematography is great, the acting is great, script, yeah, it's okay, it works. I mean, there's some things that you can nitpick, as with all of these movies. Even the best Marvel movie, you can nitpick. It's, I think the most important thing that you get in Guardians 2 is feeling. And that's what I appreciate the most anyway. Out of all these movies, this has been the most human story that I've seen. Even though it takes place in space and, you know, it's so far removed from reality, but I guess that's why it's easier to suspend your disbelief as well. But even so, it tells a very universal story, which I think is great. It's really great. And that's why I gave this movie an 8 out of 10. Okay, next movie. Iron Man 3. I saw this in the cinemas when it came out, and I thought it was really good. And then now I rewatched it and I thought it was really bad. It's got some good elements. I wish there was more depth to it. I wish that they would have explored Iron Man's, you know, issues more. I mean, I know that a lot of people like that Captain America finds this kid and, you know, kind of unloads on him, and the kid is like a stand-in for his therapist, that kind of thing. I know that people thought that was cute. I found it so hard to believe that a child would act this way, you know. I could not buy that, because have you ever met a child in real life? Like, they're not so, they're not like that, you know. The movie was not as cool as I remembered it. I think I must have been like 15, 16 when I saw this movie, so of course I gobbled that shit up. Now, less so, just because it's just another Marvel movie. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It's kind of stupid. So yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. Did I like anything about this movie? Well, Tony Stark is in it. He's pretty good. Oh yeah, the villain twist. This is a twist that actually worked, but it's not like, it's still, you know who the main villain is. But the thing is, the twist isn't that he's the villain, the twist is he's not the villain, you know. and that kind of worked. Thought that was pretty good. It was completely lost on me when I was 15 because I didn't really, I don't know, I had no brain. What else? I really enjoyed that Iron Man built all these different suits, or like, you know, remote Iron Man. But the action felt a bit lackluster, especially compared to the last two movies, which had really amazing action, and like Iron Man 3 is just like whatever. And there's just so much, you know. This is the problem with all these movies. It's so much. It's too much, man. The first Iron Man movie had just one guy fighting a guy, and it was so good, man. And ever since, every movie is the hero fighting, you know, an army of people or aliens or robots, and it's just, it feels like stale and unoriginal and boring. Overall, I don't remember, what did I give this movie? Not a high score, surely, because I didn't think it was a good movie. Let me check my list quickly. 4 out of 10 is what I ranked that. So not very good. Okay, so let's just move on to the next one, which is Captain America, the Winter Soldier.